Welcome to the playoff push for Week 29 with Greg Lawless. I'm Jason Seguini. On today's show, worst to first, slipping in the Midwest, and we have the final verdict on 3 teams. But first, let's take a look at how the playoff standings sit right now.
And Jason, we'll start with the Western Conference. No change at the top. LA Galaxy still the top seed. A flip-flop after that, though. Seattle jumping ahead of Real Salt Lake for the 2nd seed. Out in the East, a big change. Sporting Kansas City up on top. Philadelphia Union and Houston Dynamo at number 2 and number 3. And in the wild card race, the top 2 spots are still FC Dallas and the Colorado Rapids, but the Columbus Crew in free fall, now a wild card spot. New York Red Bulls pulling up at the last spot.
And that takes us to the movers for this week. Sporting Kansas City is the biggest mover this week. In fact, they've gone from worst to first in 15 weeks this season, Greg.
And it's all been about the offense, I think, since they've started to play all those games at Livestrong Sporting Park. Kai Kamara, 6 goals in the last 11 games. Omar Bravo, 3 goals in the last 6 games. They have a very good chance, I think, going up against the fading San Jose Earthquakes this weekend to solidify that top spot.
A big 4 points for Kansas City this week, including a win over Columbus, and that brings us to our missed opportunities. 2 more losses this week for the Columbus Crew, and they are now 0-5-1 in their last 6 games, Greg. This is definitely a team that has missed some opportunity here.
It's incredible to think a few weeks ago, Jason, they were in first place. Now they could conceivably fall out of the playoff picture with the way it's going. The big problem for Robert Warzicha's team right now, the defense. They've given up 16 goals in that 6-game winless streak, but all is not lost. The Columbus Crew's last 3 games against 3 teams that are right now not in a playoff position.
Speaking of teams on the outside looking in, that brings us to the Portland Timbers. The Portland Timbers had a huge matchup against the New York Red Bulls last week with big playoff implications, and they came out on the wrong end. This weekend, they're going up to Vancouver for a tough game as Vancouver opens their new stadium. So, Greg, the question is, are the Portland Timbers still alive?
Well, technically, they are still alive. They're only 2 points out of a playoff position. However, it is going to be a mighty task for them, I think. Only 1 win on the road this year for the Timbers. 3 of their last 4 matches of the season are away from Jeld-Wen Field, starting in Vancouver. And Vancouver Whitecaps have already said they want to spoil the Timbers' chances of making the playoffs.
All right, well, the Timbers still alive for the playoffs, but not every team is. That brings us to the final verdict. Technically, there's only 1 team that's officially been eliminated from the playoffs so far, and that is the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yes, but Jason, there is a lot to look forward to for the Whitecaps after their first season in MLS. They showed that they have some good young talent. They are obviously building a lot from a development standpoint in their academy. A new coach coming in 2012. They also showed some great moments of excitement. You think about Eric Osley's goal against Seattle. Davide Cumiento has been a revelation in 2011. Lots to look forward to for 2012 for the Whitecaps.
Last week, we also found out 2 teams who booked their tickets to the playoffs. That's the Seattle Sounders and Real Salt Lake. Next up, we're going to take a look at the games to watch this weekend. Taking a look at the games to watch this weekend, there's a rematch of last year's MLS Cup final as FC Dallas heads to Colorado to take on the Rapids.
And Jason, there are points on the line for both teams here. They have a great chance to solidify their playoff spot if they can get 3 points. Both teams are struggling though. FC Dallas, 3 shutout losses in a row in the league. Colorado, no wins in the league since August 13th. I think the key is some superstars need to step up. For Dallas, MVP candidate Brek Shea should take this team on his shoulders and really start to move them. And for Colorado, Omar Cummings needs to find his form again and start getting on the score sheet. He did it in midweek in CONCACAF Champions League. We'll see if he can do it against a Dallas team that is reeling right now.
The next game we're looking at is on Sunday as DC United heads to Columbus to take on the Crew in a huge Eastern Conference matchup.
Yeah, DC trying to get into a playoff spot. Columbus just trying to hang on to a playoff position right now. We talked about it earlier. The Crew are struggling with no wins in their last 6 games. It's all about their shaky defense. And when they go up against Dwayne De Rosario, the hottest player in MLS, coming in for DC United, I think this is a game that United can take 3 points on the road.
2 more games to mention. The Chicago Fire headed to Houston in another big matchup with huge playoff implications. And RSL at LA, depending on results, LA could end up clinching the Supporters Shield this weekend. Enjoy the weekend of action. We're going to be back next week to break it all down. Thanks for watching the Playoff Push.